Welcome to Play and Talk. I am Norwalk. This is Shadowhawk and Chief Ambascio. Hey everybody.
Emboscado.
Emboscado.
Yeah, I'm not good at names. So
It's in Spanish, so
yeah,
Mr. Spanish is good.
yeah. So we're going to be talking about something unusual, and that form of unusual is to start things off, a highly awaited mod for Fallout New Vegas called The Frontier. Unfortunately, it kind of sucks.
More, I would say, is being generous on the kind of part.
I would say it's
On
more
everything?
of a disappointment rather than just it sucks and it's disappointing from what I gather.
Yep.
I mean, I can understand because it was a very looked forward to mod. I mean, it's been developed for 7 years, which doesn't exactly give me hopes. Once you go past 4, I go, okay, something's clearly going wrong for that. Though I could also accept that because I don't know as to how many people were involved, so maybe it took longer because nowhere near as many people as a normal game dev team. But regardless, it's just that from all this, it was definitely something that had a lot of potential to it, which is always
Yep.
what you expect with mods like these, because yeah, these are not like the normal mods you see, which basically just has small changes to what you could do to the game, but not much. This is one where they did a lot of really kind of essentially a lot of really big fixes, a lot of big changes, and a whole new slew of things that came with it. It's just, unfortunately, it seems as if this is the case of so many writers were coming up with a lot of ideas, but didn't know how to mesh them together. So hence why it has things such as a space station scene and also a whole bunch of other unrelated aspects to it. So it's just kind of like, it doesn't know which one it wants to lead into, and sometimes what it does that it thinks is serious comes across as really funny instead.
Yeah, it's like it's trying to be like Call of
Yeah.
Duty, Metal Gear, and of all things, Dead Space.
Spec Ops: The Line.
Spec Ops: The Line too. Yeah, that too. But it's usually the engine that is least suitable for it.
So it's like, for this, at least from what I could see from the initial premise when you were bringing up the mod, I actually thought, okay, this could kind of end up being interesting, but then when it actually came into practice, it just is like, okay, so lots of things here. So it's like, first of all, this whole, if you're going to, because in this case it's supposed to be the NCR exiles, where they end up leaving the NCR because of how much they ended up disliking Kimball's policies, which is, okay, you know, at least plausible, I believe. But how it tries to go about it, like, I know Chief brought it up, and then when I saw it, I didn't honestly believe Chief until I actually watched the video that was linked to me today. And it's like, no, like, the whole you have to execute people because the hospitals are full was a real thing. And I was like, no, I don't believe this is real, and even when I'm seeing it.
Yeah, it's just like,
Yeah, it was
Like,
just
it's very
comically
melodramatic,
dark.
and it just doesn't really, not only doesn't not mesh with the tone of the like, literally doesn't mesh with the rest of the game, and
But
also
something
and
like
also the
this
aesthetics.
also needs a lot of fluid animation, which is not something the Fallout game that they're using has really.
Yep.
And so that's why when it tries to do other things like at least, it seems like one of the aspects that people think that was really good was the vehicle sections, but from what I've seen, it's like, I couldn't disagree more. These look like really out of place for it, though.
Yeah, though
I mean,
they did the best with the
especially-
vehicle sections. They really,
Especially the tank sequences, like, yeah, it's as a lot of people said, it looks like basically they were like, hey, so what if we took stuff from Call of Duty and ended up just trying to apply it in this own game? I mean, maybe not the worst idea I can think of, but even still, like, it doesn't exactly feel like something you would expect from there. And also, yeah, as a lot of people pointing out, like, especially a lot of the movie stuff that was in, when I saw him playing some of the gameplay, and one of the Legionnaires pulling out a looks similar to an RPG, shooting at the vertebrae. It reminded me just like, because I played Black Ops 2 like just recently. I finished it last night, and then there's the scene where when sections with the president and they just pull out and then shoot rocket launchers at the VTOLs, it to me looked pretty much like that.
Yeah.
And that's the other aspect with the NCR Exiles, which is if you're going to frame someone as a splinter group, don't have them look like they're basically just the same army with all the same supplies.
And they somehow
just,
they somehow managed to
different.
gather all of that, all these new tech. Like, where did they get the totally not a helicarrier from? Where did they get that?
So it's like, okay, this is basically in the fan fiction area, so I can give it, so it's like you're allowed to do whatever. But again, part of fan fiction is also that you have to at least make this kind of plausible, or at least try to make it as such. So it's like, I don't know what exactly they couldn't just say, hey, this is the NCR.
I'm moving the
Like, I know we
back.
said
Or
like, to not do
this is where it's
things
suggested
like,
they wouldn't
like
be called
armchair game
exiles.
development.
Not enough room.
But the thing about this is that this is
30
not really
seconds
us
to
like
regroup.
arm-sharing about gameplay mechanics. This is us
Very great.
saying stuff about the story in general, the sort of things that they could easily switch with, especially with dialogue, because there are times of it where it
Barrier
actually
deployed.
looks like it could have been good. The voice acting, at least from what I've been seeing, for the most part, is not too bad on it.
Yeah,
It's
especially
technically
as the
even
person that
something
has Ray
occasionally is really
Chase
good.
as one of the main antagonists in the game, in the mod. That's
But it's like, it actually is something that looks pretty good. Like, honestly, listening to it, the voice acting for the most part is good. There are definitely some moments that are really bad to it, especially with the, let me just be generous and say, extremely problematic slave that you can get in the game, which just feels really gross.
Yeah, because that game is like that mod is something just like all the fetish stuff, and let's just get out of the bag. First, one of the things that you can do in some sort of side quest thing is you can have sex with lizard snake people things.
Which is like, okay,
Nobody
like,
gets it. Nobody gets it. Why? Why do we want this? Why is that a thing?
Because the writers could not
Good question.
barely disguise their fetishes apparently, and also you can fuck
It's not even barely disguised. Disguise implies that you're actually, like, you know, trying to hide it.
That's secured.
Hence the term barely disguised in tonight's episode.
That's not even disguise. Everybody,
Yeah, that's what I
everybody
mean.
can see
you weren't using
here
the brain
as
anyway.
day that you have a
Like, particularly, and
messed
even
up,
from there, they also seem to have a really huge slave fetish, which I often see
Foot
in
fetish
this.
too.
That's enough out of you.
I actually wasn't aware of that, but I wish I didn't know that.
I'm reloading.
Yep. Get ready for fetish hell, everybody. Drop in.
So it's like, okay, so there's all that there with it, but it just comes across to me, because I also get in aspects they were clearly aiming to sort of take the Fallout area more to its original Fallout 1 darker roots. But the thing is that Fallout 1 wasn't comically dark, it was more grounded kind of dark. Because, like, keep in mind, like, even the game frames itself as the Great War being something that was relatively recent. I mean, Killian Darkwater's father actually witnessed the Great War and was the one who built Junktown. So clearly this is still framed as people trying to figure out what this world is like. And admittedly, it provides a challenge when you're hundreds of years after and people have started getting more organized. Like, that's what Veronica points out in the actual game. That was like, there was a period of time where all you needed to get your way was a suit of power armor and a laser rifle. But these days, average people know how to handle themselves. So how do you try to recreate that same kind of dark environment into something where clearly it's a lot deeper into
Yeah,
the future?
this is what Chris Evelyn.
That's a challenge.
Yeah,
admittedly.
as this is what Chris Evelyn wanted to do. Like, just nuke the whole place again. As much as I hate the guy nowadays. But seriously, fuck that sex pest.
So it's like, okay, so that's one way you're trying to go with it, I get it, but at least try to make it to where it doesn't actually feel like everything in your game looks like something that's coming straight out of a movie, though. Like that, even the vertebrate sequence looks directly like something I would see in any of the Call of Duty missions. Like, virtually every Call of Duty mission has that kind of, not mission, but every game more or less has that. You look outside, either like of a helicopter or some kind of vehicle, around a whole fleet of those things.
Ready to front line.
Yeah, let's not even get into the lore breaks of the mod. Tony, the second the character that you rescued in Fallout 1, and second president the NCR in Fallout 2. And probably
Which president? Tandy?
Yeah, Tandy. Yeah, who's the most popular? Where she's the most popular president of the NCR.
Yeah. What? How is she involved in this?
There's a dialogue that from a legionnaire that says that careful, Tandy's out there and she's a ghoul and she's been assassinating legionnaire was like. Last I checked, she died of old age, and in Fallout 2, she's old as fuck.
Like, she's actually, I think she was even just over 100 years old by that point.
Energy tank full.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, so it's like, yeah, and then we have not the other aspects, the Crusaders, which, as he mentions, are just Brotherhood types, but they're Mormons now, which is like an oddly specific choice. Why the Mormons specifically?
I don't remember. I don't recall any Mormon, like a lot of Mormons in Portland.
In Fallout, the only actual Mormon group we have witnessed was the New Canaanites. There hasn't been any presence of them elsewhere.
Yeah.
Which is like, okay, they don't have to be the only group that's out, but why Mormons for the Brotherhood?
So when the followers of the apocalypse Mormons too? I remember. I think they
No,
were.
they just settled in a Mormon place. They're not Mormon.
Yeah, just the Mormon fort, but none of them were actually. They just had it as a base for their main operations in the Mojave area.
Oh, it's weird. I swear they were.
Yeah, you're probably just thinking about the Mormon fort. That's in Freeside. But it's just those things, which is like, I mean, because when things are fan fiction, I try to give them much benefit of the doubt, though, because it's fine.
Yeah, even I write. Even my stories
sense
are better written than whatever Drake. But
at least like it's overall fine. Like it's one thing if you have something that's like the Nerfic, that's like technical shenanigans transporting your courier to this map to the Mass Effect universe. So it's like, you know, fine. That's like kind of the differences you have to try to make. But if you're deploying factions specifically, having this large Splinter group, which, despite being a Splinter, looks even bigger than the actual NCR army.
yeah, I was like, how is that even possible?
Yeah,
and all the vertibirds they have, though, which, admittedly, it is canonical that the actual NCR does possess a fleet of vertibirds, thanks to them defeating the Enclave during the events of Fallout 2. But admittedly, they haven't used them too much, though. But in this case, it's just that area where it's like, okay, we wanted to display this kind of group that went rogue from them. But it's like, if you're gonna do that, you have to make it to where these guys actually feel like you're a Splinter faction. They're equipped well because, you know, they did take weapons and such, but these guys were not exactly, like, you know, nearly as well stocked or well armed as the actual NCR. The Crusaders, which I'm not sure if in the actual mod, if they're actually aligned with the Brotherhood or if they're just some Splinter faction. But regardless, at least from what I'm seeing of it, yeah, it just comes across as kind of just meh for it. And the case of the Legion, it again just comes kind of comes across.
And here's the most bizarre part: the developers have said that they wouldn't allow the players to join the Enclave because, in her phrase, because it's like a fascist power fantasy for some supporters. Like, right?
The Legion.
Yes.
Like, yeah, as you said on the Discord, like, that's basically Alt-Right's wet dream, pretty much. It's like how they envisioned Romans, even though Romans were nothing like that.
Yeah. And in the Legion paths, you can, like, you have an Enclave recruiter, and as a Legionary, you can ask that guy point blank. It's like, why would I join
like,
fascist?
It's one thing to always have inspiration from other games. That's always awesome, or even to make frequent references to it. Heck, that's what the Fallout games have been doing for like pretty much since Fallout 2. But you have to also try to make sure that they always feel tongue-in-cheek with it. Like the Science Station one, with all the, if I were to work with just the plots that they were going with, you should have went for the full-on goofy approach, which is what Old World Blues did. Like, that would have actually made this a legit good one. Because it's like, and it wasn't really in, like, full-on parody, at least, like, not in the mean-spirited kind of way. Like, Old World Blues was basically just being like, hey, let's make something that's very fun and goofy.
And very like 50s sci-fi slog.
Yeah, Yeah, much like that, but not.
You got company.
Like Uber, this is serious. We're adults. Also, we
Like,
also
oh,
can
yeah,
fuck with
we have a
Deathclaw.
Nazi scientist who wants to gas the planet because reasons, basically. So it's like,
Because-
okay, so
Because he's a Nazi.
And then there's a blatant,
Dead Space.
not just Dead Space, but
rip-off elements.
yeah, Dead Space. Not only Dead Space, but also
Oh yeah.
Wolfenstein. Like it rips like there's dialogue and scenes directly from the newer Wolfenstein games. I'm not kidding.
That's what people said as well. And there was an element he showed in the video, which is the resisting, and I'm like, oh my god, this looks almost exactly like the Kravchenko interrogation in Black Ops 2, whereas Mason, you have to resist Reznov telling you to kill him. From that, it's just
Kidding me?
only different instead
and
of resisting him,
we
you
should,
have to
yeah,
resist
we
the Nazi.
should cite the guy who did a review slash highlight stuff of the mod. What was this guy's name?
I don't
Rimmy.
remember.
Rimmy.
Rimmy.
Yeah. I'll be posting a link on I'll be posting a link
We've got 30
at
seconds
least
for
on
reinforcements.
YouTube. Just wow, what were the devs thinking?
I'm pretty sure at this point both.
Yeah, I confronted one of the people involved. We got into a bit of a spat on Twitter. And it's like, why didn't you none of you have said no, at all.
I just wonder if he were paid for this or if this was a passion project. That's honestly the question I'd like to know.
Yeah, especially
It was a passion project.
yeah.
Because they managed to get a voice actor in, and I highly doubt that a professional voice actor would have done that for free. And he's not one who's exactly putting it for work either, from what I'm seeing.
Yeah, he did work for he did minor work
in.
he did minor work in Fallout 76 as the Super Mutants. He was the voice of Noctis in Final Fantasy 15. Voiced Mizuki in Soul Calibur 6, and voiced male protagonist in Anthem.
So it's like he's not exactly someone who's hurting for work. So, and considering voice actors don't exactly make much money to begin with, I'm not exactly sure he would be someone who's like, oh yeah, totally, I'll do this project that's going to require a lot of my time and just do that for free.
Do you know? And turns out
Because I
Ray Chase's
highly
character.
doubt he's going to want to put that now on his portfolio.
Yeah. So his character basically fuck the world, fuck NCR, fuck the Legion, and I was like,
yeah.
do you know what could be better with him? Make him a nihilistic Enclave member who just had enough after seeing the Enclave lose time after time again. And I was like, oh fuck it, I'm just gonna blow up the world.
But it just also doesn't make much sense to me as to why the NCR exiles thought that what happened in the Mojave was so bad enough that they needed to split off. Like, yeah, Kimball wasn't exactly a good president by any reasonable means. Like, everywhere I could find in the game, he pretty much was someone who was mostly liked in the beginning because he was able to make good progress in the Mojave, but he's very war hawkish, he doesn't really seem to actually do much, and he also regularly engages in nepotism.
Here we go.
Like,
I'm not
that's
sure
the
about
entire
nepotism.
reason. That is actually the entire reason General Oliver has his position, because Kimball gave it to him.
Give me that right there.
And
That's what even Boone points out when he says that people say that James Shue would have been general if Oliver hadn't been the president. So he basically
that's a good point. Okay, good point.
So it's like, I can get it. It's not like that Kimball was a good president, but bad enough to desert the country that you ended up wanting to fight with, and the one whose spirits you're aligned with. I don't quite understand. And
Yeah,
why would you do that when this conflict clearly needs you guys?
Yeah, that's something you can. That's actually a dialogue option. And do you know what happens to that in that path? He apparently has what is the equivalent of the helicarrier, who tends to go on a peaceful revolution, and I say that in quotes. To
Peaceful revolution, and I'm like, and care to explain what that is possibly supposed to mean?
Yeah, how the hell you even would you do that considering the And you can just literally just fire
Like you have a
away.
giant aircraft carrier that can just pretty much destroy any target around there. Which honestly kind of renders his whole use of an army as moot when you have this thing that no one can touch and you can just blow up anyone there.
Yeah, I mean, did nobody saw with this object?
Like, yeah, it's like, if you're
Seriously,
gonna have this giant weapon, what's the point of even having a giant army and needing all these guys
Oh,
when you
shit.
can just use this helicarrier, which seems to be basically just, it just seems to possess, like, pretty much infinite, weaponry. It doesn't ever seem to, be in danger of anything.
Though you guys
And
don't have a
it's
submarine.
so it's like, you basically don't really even need the army that you possess.
Yeah. Also in the NCR path, despite one that general's main criticisms of like destroying people's lives in the Mojave, shit, I'm getting smashed. He threw like 200 people of his people, so they can save you. It's not to see much, but at least it gives them knowledge that they're worried about how much okay. Just like, oh, so we just like, sacrifice all these lives and sacrifice this just to rescue you.
So, it's just from there, because it sucks because there actually are moments of really good stuff that are in there.
And like,
a better game. Like, the voice acting is actually pretty good. I mean, not for all of it, the lizard people honestly sound really creepy, but I don't really think that's what they're supposed to sound like from there, but the rest of it does sound pretty good.
Help me secure the top!
Like, these are really talented POs giving their all.
Yeah, speaking of the list of people, someone actually made a mod that either that'll let you to basically move the place where they're at, how you go to the karma, move it all together in an optional version, or just like the high wild wasteland. Personally, I would just basically just like explore the place.
Or like, yeah, that thing where if you end up like, what was it, like you basically use the world again.
But yeah, you have an option to use Archimedes to either just like cause it to self-destruct, or not to launch it, or to destroy either the SCR or the Legion, or both.
Or both.
Just like the Lonesome Road DLC. Heyo.
So it's like, alright, so it's like, and having that where Wild Wasteland allows you to end it with the game of Caravan, that's actually pretty funny. Like, that actually is really brilliant.
That was just the hilarious thing about that mod.
Like, I'm not gonna lie, that's actually brilliant. That's like a funny little thing to add to end it with. So it's like, props for that. It just is that a lot of the other elements feel out of place, and also because it just shows that the game wasn't designed with those things in mind. Like murder sequences where it's really meant to mimic things like the Call of Duty helicopter gunship sequences, which this game clearly
And which you can jump from vertebrae to vertebrae without trouble. Even when you cross the blades, you're still fine. It's like, yep.
Because again, it's trying to very much mimic that. Again, it seems like this game, as they said, like sort of being a mishmash across a lot of different games. I feel for me, it feels mostly like this game is taking a lot of its aspects from Call of Duty and trying to apply it here. Hey, Call of Duty is a reference; it's not bad by any means. I mean, I've been on a recent Call of Duty replay recently, and honestly, the games are mostly really good. I mean, stinkers here and there.
Like ghosts. Like that ghost.
But like yeah, like Ghosts, and honestly even Advanced Warfare I'd kind of throw in, because that one was just really boring. But generally the games do pretty well for the most part, though. I mean, yeah, some games that are lackluster, but overall it ends up succeeding more than it fails, at least in my eyes anyway.
Yep.
So it's like, alright, so like as far as references go, that's not bad by any reasonable means. You can
but
make it work.
but it over relies too much on, like, say, Metal. There's even a lot.
What's the Metal Gear stuff? Because aside from that very corny line where it tries to recreate the "Why are we still here just to suffer" thing, what other aspects recreate it?
Or
I'm not sure
how it one of the main companions, grenades AJ, and she you know, suffer starting the part to suffer sexual assault after the rest of the Wolf. What is it? The Wolfgang squad? Whatever. You don't even get to know much about them aside like, oh, they're
yeah, and that's the other aspect since Blake is very prominent for this DLC. Well, it's like, it shows to me that they were very careless with how they were wanting to, considering that that's a really loaded topic with a lot of implications. And so as a writer, you should be treating it extremely delicately, and yet they decided that's like, hey, so what if we just use this as the motivation for some of our female characters for why they do the
and there's this quintessence like female character who says when she who declares that when she turns 18 she'll be going out to the waste and get laid, and also and she says that she draws porn.
So it comes across as like, okay.
No, that's just bad, man.
Cap taking damage.
There's no excuse for that. That's just bad.
It's awful. Yeah, no excuse for it at all. It's awful.
No, it just. What the hell? They were.
Yeah, because
and
in the car that you were driving to the frontier, you can find a condom in there.
I saw that, and that was really
that's
gross.
That's just.
So it's kind of those things where it also feels like when they were trying to clearly broach very serious topics, but the thing about serious topics, you have to approach them carefully. And as a lot of people pointed out with a lot of the scenes in there, they seem to not realize that it's the lead up to those scenes that actually made them what they were, not just the scenes all on their own.
Yeah, like I said, I got into a bit. I got into an argument with one of the devs. He does some excellent work with the scripting, like the grenade key stuff. And I admired his work with the vehicles because I'm not kidding. They work a lot. They do a lot better than the vehicles from Cyberpunk. I'm not kidding.
Yeah, I'm told that the vehicle controls actually handle very well.
Yeah.
I think particularly like the dune buggies and the cars and such actually ends up looking to me much more like, okay, I could see Fallout having these things. I mean, Fallout 2 did have the highwayman that was there, so it's not unprecedented. But it's just that particularly having Sherman and explicitly Sherman things going through makes me just go like, okay, this is like really stretching what I'm willing to believe here.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind these buggies and stuff. What I kind of would imagine is like with such a whole different wasteland, snowy wasteland, and oddly enough, Portland of all places. From what I've heard, it's not a very cold place. Anyway, I actually kind of expect it to be at least bleak in the beginning because it's cold, man. Yeah, I can also imagine things being a bit more hopeful for a neutral or good courier because. If you play the new Vegas that way, your access made the place better. So
energy top is full.
Yeah, going from. And then of course there's the infamous Spec Ops: The Line section where the game tries to go with like, oh, you are responsible for, I believe, the events that happened there, which is like, I get trying to use that as a point, but
Lost and Road does it a lot better.
But it's like, first of all, the package that you delivered was not something the courier was even involved. It was not even
aware,
informed of what it actually was. This was just a package that they had no knowledge of.
Yeah,
I'd say
no one had any idea.
My courier's a man.
And that's something that you point out to Ulysses multiple times.
That's like, you didn't know. And also, how was the courier supposed to know all So again, it's not even that thing with it. I can kind of get because Spec Ops was also trying to go, oh yeah, we need to know all this stuff you're doing. So it's like, I can kind of get it, where it's like you were trying to go in there, but the courier wasn't leveling in like the events at Hopeville, where they thought they were doing some big cause.
And there's like hallucinations like being in a vault. I did it on the hero. And let's not get into the mods attempt at being the mods to take on the gun.
Oh, you got cooked out.
I watched someone play through that, and it gets pretty creepy. And at the end, you find this like woman speaking nonsense, and with a high enough intelligence, you can understand her and talk to her. And then she like teleports you away if you floating peacefully, and she's just like stays behind.
They're charging.
Just what?
It just comes across as like things that kind of maybe have sounded good, at least in theory, but these were theory things that needed a lot more going onto the drawing board when they were planning.
Yeah, speaking of drawing board,
particularly,
yes.
I would say one of the biggest ones is remove all the stuff about rape in this because it's not helping your game.
Yeah,
it's too loaded of a topic for at least amateurs like yourself to really be trying to attempt.
Not just that, but also the fetish fucking stuff, like fucking Deathclaw, fucking the lizard people, like coercing a
and the whole slave fetish in general. And it's like also if you're gonna even try to approach rape as a topic for your story, consult women, please.
Do they even? Aside from the voice aside from the VAs, do they even? No, I don't. I doubt they don't. Because
I doubt they really had any control of it. They were probably just brought on board just to do their lines, and that was the end of it. I doubt they really had any real say on what it is that was allowed of it. Although also with a mod like this, a VA may do it because they do need something to put on a resume, and something like this would actually be good enough to be able to put on there. Because even mods, as Aspergame pointed out, can be something to put on a resume because it shows that you have talent in whatever it is that you're doing. And for VO, where you basically just point to, oh yes, I did do so, here's some audio samples from some stuff like voice acting.
Yep. Oh shit! Matriarch.
Yeah, it's here.
Secure the tower.
Yeah. Jesus Christ! I just want to say, in short, fuck that mod. I'd like to call it myself for the most part. The Legionnaire card seems a little stiff, but I'm still impressed. That's actually kind of impressive. If they like scale down and make it more like say more comparable to say. For inspiration, for sake of inspiration, something like, say, The Last of Us, The Walking Dead, and even The Road. You know, have you heard of The Road?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, it's gonna be a while to explain. But what about Metro as well? Would it work? I'm pretty sure it works, right?
I think that works. It's just
bullshit.
A good explanation for having Russian stuff in the.
I was actually talking about clone stuff, like clone setting, or at least the channel setting.
Gun jam.
Yeah, just like.
Yeah, but sure, it can work.
Yeah, this mod can work. This mod can work like large, expensive, snowy wasteland. With subjects war. There's just like this like side quest thing where you find about an AI named Network. With that O in the name, that four literacy is cool. Paraphrasing as quoted by
Took down a warden.
yeah, but it's a little too over, but it's a bit too on the nose. On like the oh hey, you're the protagonist. Stuff like this has happened before. It's like you know that there's a better way to do it, and also why not also cite like historical figures, because the idea itself, like comparing like the fall protagonist to pre-war historical figures, that might be interesting.
Yeah, but
I mean,
it kind of has been done already. For example, Ulysses is a reference to the president, not the
the mythological figure.
Not the Greek,
yes.
not the mythological figure. Although he doesn't have much to do with Ulysses, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, just.
When I played Lonesome Road, the only reason I didn't kill Ulysses is because, well, it was kind of hard. I managed to convince him to fight with me, but
I always talked him down because It just needs someone to metaphorically slap him in the face.
I just
Yeah.
think it's just.
And
mainly
reason why,
that
and
just
part of the reason why,
because I consider it sympathetic because it's very clear that he has witnessed both societies in major aspects.
Yes.
Like, clearly he holds no love for the Legion because they destroyed the tribe that he still holds great feelings for, but he also feels, based on what he saw of the NCR, and especially what happened at Hopeville, that made him bitter against them, and that he also wants to has this feeling that the Legion also was saying that, oh, the NCR is basically
he
on this
also
whole
saved
thing of falling
Christina.
apart.
He also saved Christina, which,
Oh yeah.
yeah, which actually kind of helped me convince him, which kind of helped, like, made me good reason why to spare him, because he actually did some good. Despite his many mistakes. I wanted to give him.
I just think it's just that mainly he's just in that very cynical mindset because clearly he didn't disregard all that the Legion taught, and specifically saying that the NCR is somehow in danger of falling apart, even though there's no real evidence that there are. Yes, things in California are said to be tense because of the war, but there's nothing suggesting that they're on the edge of collapse, even if this war ends up going under.
Yeah,
Mm.
just
Also,
Like,
can
their
you
society
invite me
still
back?
looks like-
'Cause I kinda I
If
exited by
anything,
accident.
this would, if anything, if the NCR lost in Nevada, that would probably be for them what Vietnam was for the U.S.
okay. So
Where it's like it's a conflict that saw a lot of shame and also was highly controversial, and so therefore it was probably going to be something that was going to be very rampaging with it. But admittedly, there's nothing to really show that they were on the verge of collapse or anything.
So I started doing my treatment of the Frontier mod, where I kind of envision it set after New Vegas, set after New Vegas, and where you go with Happy Trail, a bunch of Happy Trails to establish some trades and stuff in that region, and potentially where the courier can point out the last time they have been with the Happy Trails, and we'll say that they have a bad feeling about this.
I mean, that's also one of the things I could think with this that could have just been made better, where instead of making this about, like, exiles, you basically could just have it to where it's either one of the two things. Like, as you mentioned, it could be something like the
And
Happy
here's another
Trails
thing about the
expanding to a
Legion.
new
Here's
area.
here's another thing about the
Or you could have even had it where the NCR, like, because I think making it take place after New Vegas would have been the better narrative option here, where after a supposed NCR victory, they're expanding north, and so they're deploying a lot more troops to the area, which I'm like, okay, that'd be believable.
Yeah, and either that or that general who criticized the general direction of the NCR in the Mojave has been reassigned over there, and having a bit of persecution in complex, he would call this little battalion the Exiles, because in his mind, it might as well just be exile.
Mm-hmm.
As for the Legion, I've seen gameplay footage of Legion carrying high-tech weaponry. It's like weapon. I can't speak English. It's just like the Legion. Aside from the higher positions and Kaiser relying on an auto dock, albeit a primitive one.
Yeah, not happening, mate.
Yeah, it's just like let's do escape. Up for escape.
Yeah, that's fine. Wait, let me just go and put a new challenge up.
I'm just like
3 kills of explosive weapons.
it would probably make sense if it were like a lot of the white legs from the like a group of scavengers that were backed by the Legion, a desperate Legion, depending on who the courier sided with.
But again, I always say that for all the stuff that they're trying to put out there, that's like, I always want to support with these, and I think that the writers here are onto stuff that could actually be very interesting to witness. It's just, I think that they just needed to very much look at what topics they were doing, and also not have so much fetishy stuff in there.
Yeah, and scale down the fucking mod, because I shit you not, it's about 12 gigabytes. It takes about 12 gigabytes of your storage.
Which is like, yeah, that's quite extensive for a mod. that would mean that you would well, it is New Vegas, but like even if like New Vegas, if they ported it to have the mods as well, like that would be something that if it were on consoles, you could not download basically. Heck, that's actually even bigger in gigabytes than the actual game.
Yes. And what I've
So
gathered
it
is
is,
a part of
for all
that, a
intents
good
and purposes,
a good.
basically an entire new game.
So what I've gathered is a part of that is because of the textures. It's like I think around the 4K textures, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if you went down to the scales that were used in the vanilla game, it would take up about half of that at most.
So it's like
I'm just so.
I very much would like to, yeah. So I would say for them at least, which is, you guys do have your hearts in the right direction, but you also need to do a lot of refining for how exactly you're going to go about it.
So I did So I did a brief flowchart of a brief flowchart of how I would do is like you would start off with welcome to the frontier, as it introduced to like this like hot zone between the exiles and the scavengers. And then in the next chapter, you have your opportunity to explore, get to know the groups and the side and parts of the region. In the next chapter, by the end of the chapter, you get to try out either the NCR or the Legion, which may be affected by who you side with in New Vegas. And regardless of who you side with, you end up imprisoned, and you find out the nasty side of who you're siding with. Letting you decide whether or not to replace the one who's responsible for who leads either of these groups, or just go along with it or leave. Sometimes finally, or not so finally.
And also have other elements to it, like especially since having the Legion involved with this, which for me feel very out of character with how tech savvy that now all of a sudden this new Legion seems to be. Where they seem to now have it to where like these guys are using assault rifles on the regular, where melee weapons are virtually not even actually seen when they're going through, and also seem to essentially act like even stronger than they were in the Mojave.
This is why I would suggest like just happens at least formally backed by the Legion. So the leader of this so-called Legion Scavengers group realized that because of how harsh Frontier is, they have no choice but to use these high tech because without them, his men has been dying left and right.
So then, basically, they just abandoned the morals that they had because of survival.
Yes.
Enemy spotted.
I mean, honestly, okay, that could actually be very believable.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
After all, Caesar isn't exactly there to say no.
Yeah, and I am not sure if. I remember that it's the case with the main antagonist because he's been introducing all these new tech to the Legion and they just ate it up. But I still think that that Tiberius Roach, Tiberius Roach, that's his name. I honestly think that he's better off with just as being like the main antagonist, regardless who the main antagonist from the Young Threat. Who set up this who has this the secret space station housing like thousands of people, which like the Voltec vaults resulted in horrible experiments where you had to fend off as you tried to look for him. And it ends, and it would the finale and will have you like crash back to Frontier conveniently because
we all made it.
Yeah, you know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it ended fiery confrontation between you, main antagonist, and potentially the leaders of the other factions, depending on who you piss off.
Oh, that's neat.
Like what I got so far, I know it's a treatment, and I rarely do these unfair coaching things, and I know that the mod devs have worked their asses off, but it's
I
just-
don't deny that they've done hard work, and I do think they are demonstrating that there is talent in there for that.
Yeah, but the
that-
talent is
just
not
that
the
they
right-
need better focus.
Yeah.
Is what they
Yes,
need.
please.
yeah. So
Better focus, better focus, and better morals.
yeah,
That's
the
true,
independent
honestly.
route, as I would call it, as I would say it for simplicity's sake, I just remove the Crusaders out of the way and have you basically go with the Happy Trails Caravan Company.
Or if you're going to go with the Brotherhood on this one, because, you know, they're involved in basically every major event in Wasteland history.
That's
It's like,
true.
if you're going to have them, again, just have the actual faction there instead of this weird splinter group. Because, again, if you're going to go with a splinter group, what makes them so special instead of them just being regular people that's there? Like,
Yeah.
that's the problem I have
Or
with
it could
the
be, or it
Exiles.
could be another Brotherhood chapter that's hidden. That like another Brotherhood chapter that's still hiding that hides away from the NCR.
I mean, it could
Or-
also be that you could demonstrate that this Brotherhood also acts differently from the Brotherhood that we have seen out west. I mean, sort of like how they did out east, where they became a whole bunch of basically altruists, and then Maxim just tried to make a mixture between the altruism of the Brotherhood in Fallout 3 and the beliefs of the Brotherhood in the previous Fallout games. You could do something similar with them, where maybe they did end up taking a more moral stance, on the more religious stance on the stuff that they were going with, and maybe ended up having other differences that are there, which, you know, is totally believable.
Yeah.
I mean, I would
But
be
calling
totally
the
fine with
Crusaders
something like that.
and the woman and the female character that you would potentially enslave, if you were mean to her, and she starts crying and stuff with the speech check, she suddenly explodes, and all the Crusaders now hate you and try to kill you. No, I'm not making it up.
The Outsiders?
The Crusaders.
No, the Crusaders.
Yeah,
No,
the Crusaders.
no, the outsiders are from here. No, not there.
Just
Which again
Wrong
has
game.
very much like this. Yeah, as Chief said, like definitely to have much better what they're trying to do here, because it's like, look, you have the fetishes you want to have. I don't want to be one to judge, but it's like, get that shit the fuck away from me, like far as possible.
yeah, just like there's way too many fantasy mods on like fetish mods for Fallout. Like horny mobs, just like skipping clothes. It's like, dude, enough. Like, dude, enough. Stop thinking with your dicks.
I don't mind if someone wants to run that mod on their personal game. Again, if that stuff is what you're into, I'm sort of on
It's, I just like it's just an overabundance of these
But
things.
just try not to have that in your own mod that's going to be ideally played by lots and lots of different people, where there's a lot of elements that look like they'd be very interesting, but this whole
It was
fetishy
going to be
stuff ends
released
up being
on.
a
It
major
was going to be.
turn-off from
It was going to be like released on Steam, but there's some stuff. But it has been delayed, indefinitely, from what I gathered. I can imagine why.
Where do we go from here?
You actually go over here,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just
so it's like, yeah, definitely I would say that, like, I could see from there, and also it just comes across that even though it's very ambitious, the technology also just doesn't feel like it's there, particularly because the engine that they're trying to use clearly wasn't built with those kind of sequences in mind. So when they actually are, so when you're doing things like the tank sequence, it looks really bad.
yeah.
Yeah, they were.
Like, I do think
better.
that's just more of a technical limitation, and honestly, I don't really think there's anything they could do that actually would have made it better. I think that's kind of like the best I could realistically hope that it would look like.
Yeah, at least
Yeah, they
if
could
they're going to do a tank section, just make it just that one time, because I'm pretty sure their salvage has been really rare in the Fallout universe, in canonically.
Whereas the car stuff actually doesn't look too bad, though.
Yeah.
It looks like almost plausible, like what you would actually see in the base game.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, they got vertebrates working. Why not cars?
Yeah.
And
I
this is
kinda
where the
see
Venom
that.
is.
yeah, and the space
I mean,
battles.
after all, you could actually drive a car in Fallout 2, the highway.
Yeah, I don't mind the space sequences. It's just that it's way too, what was it like?
Goofy, but also
the space
because, like,
the space stuff is way too goofy.
But it's not that it's goofy on its own. That could actually be a lot of fun to explore. The problem is it doesn't think that it's goofy, and it's playing everything completely straight, which is the problem. Like, if you're doing something like that, that actually can be really fun to try to do, where you basically just want to think something that would be a lot of fun, but trying to have it where you are trying to play this very goofy premise safe is where you start to have issues.
And there was originally a there was a companion that's like a mutually jumping spider in skaters who was a backpack and can draw aggro away from. I'm sorry. Sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. You're good. Just go ahead.
Yeah. Who can draw aggro away from you and take the heat? It's like that is a really great idea, but it's a giant ass spider which would trigger an acrophobia in plenty of people. They had it cut, but realized like, let's just like bring it back in. It's like probably a good idea, but on the other hand, plenty of people have arachnophobia, which, funny enough, which is what BioWare pokes fun at in Dragon Age Inquisition. Spiders.
Okay.
I don't blame. I do not blame anyone for blame BioWare for getting beyond the choke of spiders, because why not?
Hey, shout out.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, I was really excited that was there.
Let's get out of the shadow.
Yeah, I'm ready for there. Well, fortunately, I'll make it before the door closes.
I'm honestly split on the inclusion of the spider companion because that spider looks cute. It is cute and looks very useful for drawing aggro away. And get out to the open. Get out. Thank you.
Ready to front line. Oh, technical difficulties.
Holy shit, that's a lot of weakness.
Yep.
Oh crap.
This is...
Oh well, that's that.
Alright, so anyway, wow, we talked a shit ton about that mod because wow, that yeah, it was really.
I honestly felt it was something to actually talk about because it wasn't just some small mod that really is only either cosmetic or maybe just a weapon, but that it is a full-fledged quest line.
That is reported by various news. That's by like various.
But also, it's more or less pretty much a new game at that point.
Yeah, I completely agree.
So, like, it actually has a lot of things that would be up for that. So, therefore, when it ended up being, turning out what it turned out to be, that for me would be more of just like a, oh yeah, so...
And it really pissed me off, and I'm honestly pissed off because I was actually kind of looking forward to it, even though that some of the developers worked on the new California game. I have a friend of mine, do you remember Charles Phipps? He actually played the entire mod. I only played the, like, the first bit of it, the Vault. He said that things fell apart after you leave Vault 18, and I can see why, because one of the things that really sticks out to me is this Chinese group from Fallout 2. It's Japanese in that game, in that mod. It's like, what? Yeah, it looks really well designed for the most part, but there's just some like lore oddities for that game. Like, for example, your main character in Fallout New California, at least originally, is a clone of the Vault Dweller, mutated clone of the Vault Dweller. Yes, really.
Why though?
Why not? And then depending on the end, and then most endings lead you to become the courier.
What? What?
I don't understand what that's trying to go for.
I don't know why either.
What? How does that make
So
any
let me get this
sense?
straight. So you are some sort of clone-ish of the Vault Dweller, and then you take on and a lot of these endings, you take on the title of the courier.
Yeah, you take the job. You take the job that leads to the events of New Vegas. Yeah, you were also hopeful, and which got blown up thanks to a plot.
Admittedly, that sort of reminds me of what the Shoddy Cast Machinima was trying to do, though, with season 3 and 4, where it had the revelation that the NCR was trying to
make a clone make a Sith clone of the World Dweller. Oh yeah, it's like really.
And then the whole thing went Ari because he basically went mad.
Wait.
Yeah, that's
the storyteller, right?
Yeah, that one. The original the Fallout lore series from Shoddy Cast, where in season 3, that's when they opted to go for full-on machinima, as opposed to the lore series that the first 2 seasons were being, though.
No, I know. I think I missed that, because I was watching that show, but I think I lost track somewhere in the Shoddy Cast channel. It went... well.
After Austin took it, it basically only went for a few more videos, and then it just stopped uploading entirray. Apparently, the last video they made, I think, was a year ago.
Shit, really? Speaking of Shoddy Cast, they actually made a pretty good mod for Fallout 4 where you explore the origins of the Brotherhood with the storyteller, which is pretty neat. It's a fun little fact. Marge Maxson is voiced by Mark Mia, male shepherd of Mass Effect.
It just sucks that, unfortunately, that because of how
it actually came out, it doesn't look. It actually looks pretty good.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah.
There's something good.
It is good. I sincerely I'm not sure what that mod is called. I had to look it up later. Despite there's not much to not much to it. Just like you see feel this visualization of the Brotherhood's origins with storyteller as a guest role.
It's because in this one, it was supposed to also serve as the basis for what they were hoping were going to be a YouTube Fallout fan movie similar to Nuka Break, but unfortunately, it seemed like it was going through too many changes and also was having a lot of creative hiccups.
Oh, Nuka Break! I love that. I love Nuka Break.
Unfortunately, the project, I guess, made the creators burnt out, and so Austin, the guy who was doing a lot of voiceover for the videos at the time, they just went, "Hey, do you want it?" And then they just stopped making content for the internet, which really sucks, honestly, because they were really solid content creators.
Yeah, it's called. Okay, yeah. I'm looking up right now. It's called Fallout Brotherhood, a storyteller quest mod. It looks really good. I'm looking at So it's very short to the point. Takes about an hour long to beat. So not much to do. Just like watch. Just basically an semi-interactive origins of Roger Maxon, where you basically you're in a simulation.
Phantom set.
Ah, yeah.
Which is pretty neat. I don't remember the exact specifics. Something about trace DNA or something. I'm not entirely sure. If it works with kill log,
Good.
Yeah, I do really like when people do mods like that, because it's not just trying to really just do some cosmetic changes to it. It's rather people trying to actually make almost new games, basically, with what they're using, and I find that very commendable.
I agree.
So I always want to support people with that. So even the people at the Frontier, where even though they made a mod with a lot of very questionable content on there, I still would implore them that, yeah, keep going, but try to at least get a better sense.
I actually told her, like, I hope he would. I actually told this mod author, like, I hope he would do better next time.
But I don't hold any ill will to them, even though what they actually did, honestly, would be something that, even for me, would kind of make me question them as people in general. But still, just try to do better, though, and also try to at least listen to the feedback that at least is trying to be constructive, which is where I'm trying to go with this, which is to be constructive.
Yeah, maybe I was being a little too harsh now I think about it.
I am amazing.
Yeah, but
I mean, it's not that it's unfounded.
It's not not undeserved. I can definitely tell you that.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, just keep in mind, like, again, there's that whole thing with the rape stuff, though, which, like, yeah, it comes across as honestly kind of fetishistic with kind of it's going with, and especially particularly the slavery part, which is portrayed, like, pretty much exactly fetishistic, at least in my view.
Yeah.
Which very much just has it, like, it's not like that kind of fetish is unknown to me, unfortunately.
And the feet. And one point, she actually has a real medical condition that makes her not feel pain. I wish it would be a bit explored more aside from
And that's the other thing, is that a lot of the characters in these very, like, questionable stuff, such as, with the, I think her name is AJ, where she's actually very well voice acted for the most part.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ew, I got some on my hands.
But, like, yeah, I'm not against, actually, where even in some of your critiques where you can end up saying something about the person's morality on it, though, because, yeah, like, if they're portraying stuff that's very dubious, it can be something, though, that is very much on there, which, again, always comes down to the subject of framing. Because I was recently watching Phil and his three-part series there on 50 Shades, and where he was talking about dubious consent as a general topic, and has it, his point is basically that dubious content isn't exactly something that's illegitimate as subject matter, but rather the whole thing is really just about framing.
Yeah. Or to reference Archer, phrasing.
Like, it's always just comes down to that, though. Like, things such as dubious consent, though, like, yeah, that can be something that can end up being in its own kind of, essentially kind of fantastical kind of elements to it. But it's just that you also isn't something that means that it is not harmless, because after all, affecting people is why you made art in the first place.
Yeah. Speaking of my fanfic, I went for like crossover for my first one between Fallout and Mass Effect because I like them both, and I know it's not 100% lore friendly, but I do try to make it like aesthetic to the science as possible.
Yeah, I mean, as far as fanfic, I don't want to go into this thing that you have to treat it almost like it's pretty much being canonical with what actually happens in the series. Like, as a fanfic, try to do what you can, but at the very least, do try to at least keep in with the spirit of what exactly would be in this game. Like, yeah, like your courier being transported to the Mass Effect universe, yeah, it's going to be something that's going to always be a bit of a to swallow, though, as far as like logic goes. But it's like, it's fan fiction, so you've got to be able to try to accept it.
Yeah, and my explanation is an experiment to improve his transport pod that went wrong.
Is it just me?
So, I mean, this is actually one of the things that Foldable Human was talking about for the ideas with the idea with things like 50 Shades, though, saying how people enjoying it as fan fiction, and even pointing out that, yeah, one of the best parts of fan fiction is that it allows you to shortcut to the good stuff, because so much of the world that you have, it can be presupposed. Like in your fanfic, I can reasonably assume that the events of Mass Effect that happened did actually occur up and the divergence point is, I believe, right after the beginning of Mass Effect 2, I believe.
Yeah, it's set during the events of it's basically the first Mass Effect comic Redemption, where my courier has gotten himself involved in the search for Commander Shepard with Liara, Sony, and Theron.
Yeah, trying to recover Shepard's body, correct?
Yes.
So that's why it's in Mass Effect, where the stuff that's there takes place, and it's overall what we can assume, only where the divergence point is at basically shortly after the introduction of Mass Effect 2.
Yeah.
But I can more or less assume that in your fic, everything that happened before that also happened.
Yeah.
So like the Citadel was attacked, it was actually taken out into space and was, well, killed during being exposed, that kind of stuff.
Yes. And ultimately, they went up like the comic. Farron was captured ultimately by the Catapulter, and the courier, my courier, and we have recovered Shepard's body and gave the body to Cerberus.
clear.
Divergence.
Yeah, so that's
the main,
what I mean with it. It's overall okay if you want to do stuff like that, or even when you want franchises to basically cross over into each other.
Yeah.
That's totally fine
Yeah,
to do
the
so.
ultimate-
I mean, as long as your story is compelling. I feel like the NCR Exiles, it's just that I have
Yep.
less of a problem with the idea, but more so its
Rather than the
portrayal in the
execution.
game. Like,
Yeah, that's the
particularly, like, if you're going to frame a splitter group, try to also frame them as people who are much less equipped. So, having these guys with their own fleet of vertibirds, which is something that
Just
is something
stretches
that
it.
only the real NCR would have, and them having numbers that kind of makes them look like they would be on par or even surpassing
even
OG
the Brotherhood
NCR.
in Fallout 4. I just realized that.
Like, at least the Brotherhood of Fallout 4 actually have open recruitment, so therefore their numbers swelling makes complete sense.
Yes.
And also
and
just
the
because
immense
they were-
resources from the Enclave after Fallout 3.
And also, that took the events of Fallout 4 take place 10 years after 3, so that leaves a lot of time for him to be able to build this stuff up.
Grabbing this.
So it's not like it makes no sense, it absolutely does. And at least according to the terminals of improvement, the Brotherhood in California was resuming patrols again, so presumably the NCR and the Brotherhood...
Yes, it sounds starting to believe that at least chronically it's implied that either NCR won or Victoria made a alliance between the NCR and the Brotherhood.
It kind of looks that way from it. I mean, particularly the Brotherhood being able to operate freely on California again has to signal that at least conflicts between the two ended up at least either ceasing or at least dramatically diminishing for that. So I would imagine that they probably had some sort of truce, which you can do in Fallout New Vegas.
Yeah. And that means the original leader of the
Secure the LZ.
Alright, Chief, let's go. Get out of here.
Yeah, McNamara.
McNamara.
McNamara has not been demoted.
So yeah, that's what it looks
Hurry
like
up,
basically
guys.
it's going in with this one. So I would say like it's
Close
not
it,
that it
close it,
can't
close
make
it,
sense
close it.
though. Again, I would always say it's just at least for me a problem of framing. That's like, yeah, so try to actually make them look more like this instead of that. Or like if you're gonna go with splitter groups, try to frame them more as a smaller group that's less important than the actual faction.
That never makes sense. And it never.
Hey, where are you going?
I mean, the motivations actually aren't even all that far-fetched, though, for a group like this. Like, having it to where it's like, oh, hey, we really dislike what Kimberly's doing because we think that the NCR is kind of, or at least Kimball's NCR looks as if it's not really upholding the values that they're supposed to hold. Then it's like, okay, I could see enough soldiers doing that, because even in Fallout New Vegas, lots of soldiers are very much not really feeling that happy to be there. Instead, a lot of them end up feeling very demoralized and feeling like, what are we doing here? Because nothing's getting done.
Yeah, I do like my idea of having it set after New Vegas, where that mod story would be impacted by who you side with in main game.
Yeah.
I just think it feels like a missed opportunity. And like I said, I honestly rarely go into this armchair coaching, but stuff like these just makes me want to. And
It's basically it's because it's not maybe not the same as, for example, I don't say Hunt Down the Freeman, but it feels.
Oh yeah, Hunt Down the Freeman. Oh my god,
Yeah.
Oh my god, you had to bring it
yeah,
up, huh? It's like you fucked up my face. You fucked up. Is it you fucked up my face?
Pa, pa, pa.
I've only
yeah, but-
heard of its existence, but not whether or not it was actually good.
It's
Just
not.
that
It's
existed.
not.
Wasn't
It's not.
good
It's
by a long shot.
no. It's not.
They even charged you to play that thing.
Like it was like $25 at first, and they had to reduce the price. It's
Look,
Well,
Yeah,
what
but-
is it?
it's a mod for.
Oh,
half- basically
it's another product
it's a
that
standalone game.
it's like one of the
Look,
expansions for the first Half-Life where you play as a bad guy. but-
and let me explain. Okay,
Sure.
so it's a mod. It's a source game inspired by the Half-Life universe. So basically, an alternative universe where
Of
you
course.
play as a Heku Marine, and that supposedly got attacked by Freeman, and he wants revenge for that. So basically, the game takes place during the 7-hour war that happened right after the events of Half-Life. You fight that, you enter in like this stasis or something like that, and like 20 years later, during the events of Half-Life 2, you come back to fight the Combine and find Freeman. But it's just awful. Like, so many
where
levels.
is he? What is the Freeman? No, I shit you not.
Like,
Yeah,
Like,
that
seriously.
definitely sounds
Yeah,
pleasant.
you don't go into a stasis. Actually, it's just this time skip where you build up your army. Well, where you?
wasn't G-Man I think G-Man
G-Man
put
was
you on stasis.
I don't know.
G-Man put you on stasis like if it did to Freeman and well, Funny and also to Shepard. The character you
Yeah,
play
it turns
in
out the main
opposing
character
force.
of that of Hunter Freedom is
His brother.
Yes.
And it's just a kick in the face because all of the lore breaking, all of the stolen assets, out of place
And the questionable
stuff.
voice acting. Oh my god.
Oh god damn it! They have Keemstar doing as the president.
We're not kidding.
No,
It's just-
no, you're not serious.
No,
We're not making it up. We're serious.
that's serious.
Like
They even
the
got
Keemstar, the Keemstar.
The Keemstar. They even had I hate everything to do one of the characters. Well, like I said,
God.
but back to the point that I'm saying. It's not as bad as that, but it's basically it feels in that sense. It was a big disappointment. Although in the case of well, to be fair to the Frontier, it was more
Voice acting is more polished.
hopeful for the
That's-
Frontier, and it feels it probably feels more fun to play than
Yeah.
on the
And there's
Freeman.
and there's like a
And I
where you're
feel
going.
Hunt the Freeman also had the other aspect of being the first Half-Life thing people really had in a good way.
That is true.
Not exactly, because well, it was a mod based, and all in all, it
Yeah,
wasn't-
that's what I mean, the first main thing. Like, it wasn't really official, but it was at least something, considering that Half-Life Alyx wouldn't come until afterwards.
Yeah, funny enough, I think Valve was actually afraid to. Oh, yeah, he actually got afraid to Half-Life Alyx more.
Oh yeah,
Like,
I'll take that.
not the main reason, but in part because Hunter the Freeman exists.
Yeah.
Quite literally, because they saw how tarnished the Half-Life franchise was at that point, considering that thing got made. So, well, they feel compelled to, well, do that.
Yeah. There's.
Well, I commend them for
Yeah, I
doing
really
so.
do like the idea of playing as
But
a
I
bad
only
guy
have
again.
one major question. Why would you have I Hate Everything, of all people, to do voice acting when when you could have actually tried to look out for up-and-coming prospective voice talent? It feels
don't
like
And
know,
that sort of
because-
thing
Keemstar,
that-
and
I don't know,
Keemstar.
They got a lot of famous people for that. I think Cynical. How's this guy called? Cynical. Oh god damn it! I forgot the name
It
of
kind
this
of
guy.
comes across to me like those big
honest
animated movies
mistake.
that look really bad, but because it seems like a good deal of the budget was to get big names, it feels like basically the game version of that, but with YouTubers instead. So that they could use the YouTubers' clout as extra marketing. Hey, Keemstar is in this game, which honestly would be more of like a, oh wow, so that's a reason why I won't get this game.
Yeah, it's
No.
kind of weird. I mean, they kind of.
I Hate Everything would also be another thing like that. Like, I'll never forget that he actually criticized this movie Sing because it wasn't having a Pixar level budget, which is more of like a, that's a new critique. It's a terrible one, but that's certainly different.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And I still remember like when he was trying to frame it as being so bad, because I saw it with my sister on a cruise ship, because they were just playing the movie on the poolside, and I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll watch it. I got nothing better to do, and I found
Which
myself
one?
enjoying it. Sing. It's one of the Illumination movies that they did
Ah,
for
yeah,
that. Because there's
yeah,
this huge
yeah.
feeling of it that's like, yes, I get it. They're responsible for that Minions movie, but like, I really wish that they would just stop hyper focusing on these movies that, quite frankly, are far enough away to where it's like, just get the new ones, especially for these ones. Because Sing was, well, I'm not gonna say it was a great movie. It was honestly not too bad. It was honestly something that was even kind of good, even.
Yeah.
For it though,
Yeah,
it does the normal emotional beats and such, but specifically when he's trying to critique it, because it's like the movie wants you to feel this when this happens, and I'm like, wow, congratulations, you're pointing out what a movie is supposed to do. Which, looking at that review, was one of the things that made me become disillusioned with him as a YouTube reviewer.
Yeah, but basically, but back to the mod. They basically got a lot of. Oh yeah, that's the thing. They got a lot of YouTubers to do voice acting, and other one that I remember was Fire Cynical. That's why it was in Fire Cynical.
Yeah. Oh, there's even like a video.
Interesting.
There's even like a couple videos from some of these YouTubers about what went wrong with this game.
Yeah, there's.
I'm just more surprised YouTubers of that influence, they were actually able to get them in. And I don't exactly get the feeling that they were paid.
Did anybody else see that?
I know. I heard everything did a video about his involvement, and he was basically ashamed of physically doing it. Like he was basically, what the hell am I doing here?
I'm down.
Sure.
But still, the point is that maybe it's not like not in terms of quality, but in terms of like the raw emotions or just the disappointment of the mod. It feels comparable to that.
Here.
It's just we don't really
somebody...
get many mods that are of that kind of scope.
Let's get
when they do
let's get in the
these
same
really
pod,
ambitious things.
same chamber.
Because basically, because when we think of mods, they pretty much always end up just being these small things that are added, like, oh, here's weapons from this franchise, here's like whatever in this, or whatever is the case. So therefore, now that we actually are, well, getting basically, so when you get something like a Frontier or Hunt the Freeman, it ends up being something that's way bigger, almost feeling like it's honestly an unofficial game in the series.
Yeah, the main difference is Frontier requires main game, while Hunt the Freeman doesn't, but you still need to pay for it.
Yeah.
So that's always the element when you have things like this for having it. So it's why I get why people would get massively into these mods, because these are things that are doing really ambitious things, but also these look like very ambitious mods that are not going to destroy your system.
Like the Frontier field points where you're going to be forced to get on the cross. And it has to play as
like
different
that.
characters, which...
But I mean specifically, it's in like, it actually isn't like going to basically either ruin other mods, or be something that, even if it was made in size, they didn't properly fix the major bugs that it has, so it becomes a pretty much unplayable experience. Which I see even on the Xbox version of Fallout 4, where there are some mods that have that kind of feeling to it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So that's why I say with it though, which is why I get why people are into it though, but I also try to make sure I would just say with them, which is, like, just try to make sure that you always just have your hopes at a more or less reasonable one, or at least wherever, to where if it ends up not being what you want, you can do so. Like, for me, I feel like I'm one of the few people where I can actually be super hyped about something, and actually, where even if the game ends up not being what I was looking forward to, I at least don't have, like, that sort of spurned kind of feeling that I see some people
I feel a little
have.
spurred, to be honest. Just like...
Like, for me, for instance,
mostly
like,
spurred because
the
of all the
last
nebulous
time
content.
I ever ended up feeling quote-unquote disappointed over a game was The Force Unleashed 2, and that was like this year will mark like 11 years ago when it came out.
Yeah.
Particularly because I felt like the game really was constantly hyping in the marketing that question of, is this Starkiller the real one, or is it a clone? You'll get this game to find out, and it wasn't something that the game campaign did. The challenges revealed cutscenes that then told you the answer, which made it feel kind of anticlimactic. The ending of the actual campaign felt like they basically wanted to go with it doesn't really matter whether you're a clone of your original, you're still like a person, which is like, okay, sure, but maybe
I was promised an answer. That's basically the sensation that it leaves. I mean, it's an interesting point that the game is making, but you know,
like that's what I mean with
I wanted my answer.
Like I can sort of understand where sometimes the story is like there's this potential character seeking, but they sort of learn like whether it's something is decent or not really ends up not mattering at the end of the day. That can be an interesting narrative. But when you have the marketing saying how the answer is what you're getting this game for, it can have that. But also because it was a game that I really find how long the game was. The problem was the game felt so fast. You leave Camino and it feels like you came back.
We're not done yet.
Like the whole game feels like it could have taken place in the very same day.
That's called finesse.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's space for you.
Like, at least I've been playing the Call of Duty games, where even though they aren't long either, you can finish any given Call of Duty campaign in 5 hours, but at least it doesn't feel very fast-paced. At least not for me, it doesn't. Oh, is everyone ready?
Just about.
Yeah, that's basically my main complaint, for example, of Cold War. It felt so fast.
Or is it just me?
Like, strange, because like, I recently played the rebooted Modern Warfare, and it felt actually pretty like balanced in terms of length. I didn't feel it was any longer than it had to be.
Yeah, it felt long enough. Like, long enough to, you know,
Enjoy it.
but not ask yourself, well, it was over?
Got it!
Because I certainly kind of felt that for Cold War. I don't know exactly why, but it felt shorter than it.
Yeah, I think because there was some trouble between the various studios that worked on that
Like,
game.
I recently just played the first 2
Yeah.
Black Ops games, and yeah, they felt pretty perfect in length, really. I felt like they were just long enough as they had to be.
The numbers, Mason.
Yeah,
What do they mean?
Yeah, I played Black Ops not so long ago after finishing Cold War for the first time, and it felt long enough.
And yeah, it helps that the game really holds up, though, from that. Like, man, the older Call of Duties, though, really managed to still hold up for that. Even graphically, they're not really all that bad, though, even though these are games that are, like, that in the case of the first Black Ops, it's 10 years old, and in the case of Black Ops 2, it'll soon be by next year.
Yeah, it's kind of... But they hold up. They hold up.
Yeah. It's just unfortunate for me that Black Ops 3 ended up just being something that was not so good, though, at least in my view.
Yeah.
It honestly...
It never felt to me. It never felt compelling to even buy. It was a convoluted campaign, multiplayer that just and
I gotta
maybe
say-
for zombies. I honestly could have played that just for zombies, because I like some zombies from. I like the zombies most.
That was the main good thing I honestly felt from it as well, because the rest of it just didn't exactly feel to me like all that good with it. Like, the campaign being very confusing, and it kind of showed me how sometimes I would say Black Ops 3 had kind of an interesting way of having something canonical from the previous game, which in this case was, yes, Menendez was killed, but that uprising that the ending says actually happened didn't actually happen.
So it wasn't like
So even
So
though
you did-
Menendez was killed and that video message was sent out, it didn't actually lead to Cortestia actually erupting like the actual Black Ops 2 ending of that choice actually showcased. Instead, they felt like he was more of a coward than an actual martyr. So
Yeah, I
therefore,
remember-
they ended up splintering there.
Yes, that's something that never made much sense to me. Why they would rise up, considering that they destroyed Los Angeles. They basically trashed Los Angeles and almost trashed the rest of the world. Like, that guy is dangerous. Why the hell would you even listen to him? Like,
Desperation.
yeah,
maybe?
sure, eat the rich, but not. You almost died.
So
Yeah,
it's
you-
kind of
like-
like having that, but it seems as if the events of Black Ops, which the game references as not being all that long ago, but things look as if, oh yeah, we're all tidy again.
Yeah.
Which again, that's
And they-
kind of a thing I always kind of have as an issue with that, when it's like we just had this major world-shaking event, and then a few years go by, and it's like, oh yeah, everything's back to normal.
But
Like I
is
know
fine.
Los Angeles was like thoroughly
what's that,
damaged, but
Wasn't that like 26, 26
2025.
of Black Ops? 2020. Oh no, the events of Black Ops
2025
3.
was Black
Yeah,
Ops
they did.
3 was, I
Like it's-
think, was in the 2030s. Let me go check
It's
that out because I
20
have
yeah,
played
it
Call of
was-
Duty. with
no,
me.
it was. No, it had to be. It had to be much longer because. No, it had
Let me
to
see
be
when
'cause-
this. Yeah, I'm gonna check the
It's like-
the campaign to see
Wikipedia.
where it is.
But well, talking about old games.
Oh, the game
that
is set
was-
between 2065 to 2070, so
Yeah,
about
I called
40
it.
years afterwards.
Damn.
Yeah. So yeah, it makes sense that they.
Oh,
say,
I
yeah,
remember
it's still
how
fun.
weird Black Ops 3 turned out. Really
Short
weird.
answer, it was just very unclear as to what was going on, and the best way I could describe the campaign was the entire thing was a dream, kind of.
Inception, but not really.
It
And
was like an
Evangelion.
AI basically just mind screwed you up, and then it turns out that the guy you were playing didn't really exist. I guess, maybe.
Yeah, it's just.
I
so
mean, honestly,
weird.
because Black Ops 3 is just so disconnected from the prior games, it feels like the Black Ops label was basically put there just so that way it had, well, that area of the Call of Duty IP attached to it. Because honestly, if the Black Ops thing was removed, I would have honestly thought this was just its own series.
Yeah,
probably
and
would-
Black Ops 4
would have-
doesn't have a plot. If that-
Yeah, basically, it doesn't have a. Or
What were
it
you about to
doesn't
say,
have
Chief? Like, it feels like what?
like it could have been a better experience, or it could have been it could have had a better reception if it wasn't if it didn't have the Black Ops label, because it does mean a lot to the people, like the people, because you know.
Like, even
Come-
Black Ops 1, even though it wasn't super connected with World at War, it still did connect directly to it, and stuff from that game also was majorly affecting Black Ops 1, even if it took place only shortly afterwards. Like, we saw Dimitri, we actually even saw Reznov, and he actually played a major hand in it. And Black Ops 2, Alex and Frank did actually have a major hand to play in that sequel. So having it where David Mason, for instance, has no actual thing, and the only reference to the prior game was of Raul Menendez's death, which is like only semi-canonical because the death happened, but the events at the ending show didn't actually happen. So it's like,
Huh?
what gives?
Yeah.
I get the feeling. I don't know why, but I get the feeling that the video also included scenes of riots or stuff. Mostly.
Yeah,
just
it actually
because.
even showed the White House even being burned down, so giving the implication that the US government was possibly even overthrown, whereas they don't really seem to address what happened, just that also that a force also came out vaguely that was meant to replace the drone force, but the events
I
are
remember.
not really
Does anyone
mentioned
remember
there.
how that even like a battle royale game like Fortnite or and Apex Legends have more of a plot than like Black Ops 4?
Well, Black Ops
I mean,
4 didn't even have a campaign, it was just entirely Battle Royale.
Not battle
They have-
royale and battle royale multiplayer and zombies.
I mean, the zombies. If we wanna call it, if we're gonna call, I mean, zombies had a story.
It did.
It-
A very
it did,
weird
but
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
zombie,
like,
the
well,
zombie,
some-
the zombie modes already have a weird story.
Got it set.
Part of the territory.
Zombie mode is kind of weird in general. That's all I can say.
But like, yeah, it was just
Hey,
really,
Bob's
I just
weird.
felt
Okay.
that in Black Ops 3, it just felt very disjointed, which is why I already owned the game, but I'm just not interested in re-downloading it because it has really nothing to do with Black Ops 2. So for me, it just felt like I would have been diving into a separate series, and I feel I'm kind of fine where I am right now.
Surprise!
Yeah, it's
Hunter
just,
marked!
Shit.
I tried to look up the on the game, like where your character can get start getting ripped apart by by robots, which is it actually and I'm not kidding. We're actually kind of like actually kind of troubled a game writer for talking about.
I'm down!
Wow, that is intense, huh?
Yeah, there was like 2 of them exploded at once.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
back to the point. Back to the point of old games. I always think that
This won't hurt a bit!
at least I can at least thank Call of Duty games for aging mostly good, because I was playing. I've been playing some older games, like the games that came from the games with Gold
Game Pass. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
down, and the
Speaking
other
of
one
Game
is
Pass-
Dead Rising.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Let me finish. Please. I was playing Dead Rising. I played Dead Rising 2 before, so I kind of got familiar, but man,
Oh yeah!
it does become a bit sluggish. It's very sluggish. It's kind of slow. Just
Yeah.
it didn't feel like, pick up and play. It didn't feel like that.
Just happened!
Immediately then break them, which is
Understood.
basically like a first-person brawler, quote unquote. It's a first-person shooter, but it focuses on first-person combat, like melee combos and stuff. But and I got a bit more further in that game, but it never felt that good to play. That
Yeah.
it just felt sluggish.
Yeah. I
I replayed it only, I think it was like a year or 2 ago, and for me, the controls overall felt pretty well for me at least, though. They felt
Good to
just
go.
right.
Oh, speaking of Game Pass, so I just learned that Xbox Game Pass has hit 18 subscribers.
18 million.
18 million. What did I say? 18, like 18 million. Yeah, 18 million.
Shit.
I'm coming.
Yeah.
That's
Hurry up, my
impressive.
controller's about to die out, and I
You in the ground.
have to go change my batteries out real quick.
I'll cover you. Hang on.
Buck.
Okay.
Another thing that kind of like that also stood out to me is, has anyone seen?
Right along. Yeah, I got it.
Should I be muting that?
Cover me. Reloading.
Oh, no, sorry.
Alright, I'm back, guys.
Look, I'm
Yeah, I'm
attacking.
back.
Oh, has anyone
Okay,
seen
okay,
the
go,
trailer
go.
for Kong vs. Godzilla?
I haven't yet, but
I
I've been
haven't.
told that it's really good.
Yeah.
I haven't yet. I only see the memes that they made. They made a joke about it, because they always do that.
No.
Well, yeah.
A
now that she's
cultural
really
reference
popular,
both things
yeah.
for
You got him, man!
cultural reference
Or
both things.
Godzilla and
This is probably the most popular I feel I've ever seen her. Prior to that, I only knew of her because she had some merchandise in the Party City I was working at
A food?
like about a couple years back.
Oh,
Joke.
more of the big, the big mod.
Wait, which JoJo are you talking about?
Got someone! One dead drop!
Yeah, it's like, wait, which JoJo are we talking about here?
JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, the anime.
Oh, that one.
it's also based on the manga. Fun fact.
Yeah,
Yeah,
of course,
but-
because that's what all the games are.
Hello, knock knock.
Too close.
Eat shit and die!
There we go.
Oh, this one.
Take that!
Okay, I'm looking up some more news. Has ever seen some of the trailer stuff for Apex Legends, the new characters?
Scratch one drone!
I really saw explosions. Lots of explosions.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well,
You see, it's all about explosions.
Yeah, after this game, I'm gonna have to go head out because I have to go to bed and be up in the morning. So I'll probably get off after this game.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it'll be the last game for tonight, I guess.
Enemy contact!
Yeah.
So have you seen? Yeah, I'm honestly looking forward to conferences, Godzilla vs. Kong, and there was actually a freaking
But
movie-
it sucks that unfortunately it's only available in the U.S.
HBO Max.
Not cool, man!
Yeah, it just sucks that it's only available in the U.S. because unfortunately, the Warner Brothers is taking its sweet time before it ends up actually being distributed.
To other countries. And speaking of movies, there are a couple of movies have been delayed, like that movie being delayed by about a week.
Okay.
Like
Now what?
I think it was Dune or something. No Time to Die. That was also delayed to later. I know, shit. I remember that Morbius is also being delayed to 2022. And
Although I wasn't particularly looking forward to that one, so
yeah, it's
I
a
mean,
Sony
it being
it's a Sony movie. You're surprised?
It's just particularly that trying that with this one because it for me doesn't come across as if because again it has that sort of feeling of like we're basing this on a comic book property, but we're gonna make sure that this is as far away from that material as we can make it.
Yeah, Morbius the living vampire. That's the one shit.
Which again is like if you're going to end up doing something from a comic book, just embrace that element of it instead of having this feeling of shame attached to it. That's like
I
look,
remember-
we're only using this because
I remember
like we're
Venom.
using this because we need money because we clearly just want to be able to get into the superhero market, but we also don't actually like the damn things in the first place. It's kind of the same problem that Fan First ended up having as well. I mean, who decided that, yeah, the Fantastic Four, the super lighthearted family thing, decided to have to be a weird and grimdark thing is something that'll always be beyond me.
We can do this! No matter how much shit they throw at us!
Yeah. Okay, this is.
What
Oh,
the fuck? He beat me somehow.
damn! I'm taking your stuff.
Yeah, go ahead, take it.
Oh shit. Sorry.
I was not expecting
No, it's
that.
okay, take whatever you need.
I was not expecting that, to be honest.
Shit, McClaw.
I wasn't either.
Oh, I see you. I'm getting you. Just. Yeah, and for Black Widow, there's actually been some word that it will also be it'll have a premier access of release on Disney Plus, which is actually I've been calling for ever since well that there's been some reports of it being delayed again. Because honestly, premier access on top of mine on top of my head is honestly the best premier access with movie theaters. That's honestly the best approach. Does anyone
I
agree?
have been to a movie theater just recently. Last time I went was like on New Year's Eve when I was on a date with my girlfriend. And I can say from them, they're honestly not too badly done though. I mean, mainly just because I find that people really just don't go for these things because I guess that they're not exactly eager to watch movies, but they are more than eager to go to restaurants instead, which is kind of like a fine more for me, basically.
Yeah. But it's kind of same thing. Kind of the same thing with me and my family on a Christmas Eve. We went to a German-like restaurant. Then we went out to go see Monster Hunter. It sticks to the
Last movie I saw in the theater was this movie called The Tall, which feels like it wants to be an erotic thriller, but doesn't really want to really fully embrace the erotic element of its
One dead drone!
That's just something weird.
That's honestly the best way I can describe it. It honestly wasn't a bad movie per se. I found it at least just like, you know, decently entertaining. But it just kind of has that feeling that's kind of like, if you're gonna make it have
Shit.
the stuff of yeah, I see. Basically the stuff of like of a specific genre that like kind of operate on a just embrace that thing. So like in this case, that's what even plenty of reviewers point out. Because like if you're going to end up being like following in the footsteps of like a erotic thriller, that's cool and all, but just honestly just go forward with it if that's what you're going for.
Okay, let's.
So Monster Hunter,
shit.
yeah. So Monster Hunter is surprisingly faithful to at least to the aesthetically to the game, especially with Monster Hunter World. My brother was really happy once we get to see the Metal Spirit Chief. Yes, that's the name. That's what he's working in Monster Hunter World, and the rest of the games are too. It was just so happy to see it, to see that moment. And what also kind of like draw my interest a little was Ron Perlman's character achievement. Get the other one.
Friendly fire.
Yeah, I'm trying to get you.
Shit. Let's try it again.
Shit.
I got killed by something. I don't know what it was.
Let's try again. Hopefully, let's restart this act. We can try again. It should be pretty short.
Okay, let's do this again. God damn it, my head.
Okay,
Yeah.
so yeah, that was the main thing that was with that. I never really got around to watching it because I am trying to make sure I'm not going out too much. I at least try to minimize it where I can, but at least movie theaters are areas I feel safe with because really no one actually ends up going to these. Like even when I saw Fatal, I only ever saw like I think it was 4 other individuals in the movie theater.
Stop shooting me!
I'm sure the movie theaters, at least in the US, are not gonna survive that much after the pandemic.
I actually like hold up movie Bob
I
because
think
he
it
wants.
would become more niche as time ends up going on. Basically.
Yeah, I actually like point out to what I actually like the movie Bob.
I mean,
That
it's mainly just because streaming has killed it, because especially with these days, and people not having a whole bunch of free time these days, they just want to go have it where they can watch a movie just on when it's convenient, instead of having to organize event times when they can do it.
Yeah, so I
And
caught
now
up.
that HBO Max and Disney Plus now have both had instances of movies that would have been in theaters now showing up on the streaming services, and now it was confirmed that one of their upcoming films will be available for Disney premiere, basically the same thing that Mulan was. Now it casts doubt as to, are we going to actually go and like and see as to whether or not
Ooh, I could use that.
as to whether or not we will actually see it see this become the norm, and it looks like it is going to become the norm.
Yeah.
They probably.
I called Movie Bob a petulant child because he really wants to see he wants to go back to movie theaters with vaccinations. It's like settle down, you
But it's like you
petulant
can
child.
still watch it, and honestly, even if you see a movie at first today, I don't really think we're going to really have to worry about space, because I find that with this COVID stuff, people, even with that, and even with like movie tickets that are stupid cheap now because they are clearly, everyone's just drastically reducing price to get people to come in, it still isn't drawing a lot of people to really go in, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
what,
honestly,
For instance, you can actually watch Ivy's 11 movies now in movie theaters for $5, and yet it still isn't drawing many people in.
I mean, honestly, there's also the fact that, well, cinema distribution and cinema studios, they have been fine for quite a while about distribution and stuff, considering the amount of money that is required. Imagine all
Yeah.
the distributing all the movies internationally and stuff. Yeah. Considering the cost that you get, that type of the money that you can save by not having to distribute, your movie.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Oh,
I mean,
now
it's
I remember
awesome.
the Disney movie that's it. It's the new film that Hillary Marie Tran is voiced is the lead voice in, where that's the one that is going to be on Disney Plus for March 3rd. Wow, what's with March being like the release for some
I don't know.
Yeah.
And
And there's also the matter of Black Widow being on Disney Plus Premiere. Honestly, like I said,
Alright, if we die this, I'm going to have to get off, honestly.
Yeah, same.
because-
Nothing to do with the
crap.
right.
Okay, I'm dead.
Yeah, we are. You got
okay,
captured.
just
But basically what's I would say with that, because especially because we saw with Soul, which is now the most watched streamed movie ever apparently from what I've seen, and then also Wonder Woman in '84, where despite even with so critical consensus was still immensely successful on HBO Max. There's really nothing to suggest that this is not going to become the norm.
yeah. I told like I actually got to when I told people out that movie theaters were dying, maybe we should let the movie
I don't really think movie theaters are going to die. I feel that's a bit dramatic to say, but that they are going to become more niche at this point, basically. And honestly, I feel it's going to embolden the theater experience more, like for someone like me. Like, for instance, like I saw Chris Stuckman bring up a great point with this. It's like we've all had that experience where we've been in movie theaters, people being disruptive, like they're like talking really loudly on their phones and whatever, whereas if they can watch that at home, they're not going to come and disrupt it. I still remember when I was trying to watch Bumblebee on opening day, and there was a guy next to me who was snoring so fucking loudly, and it was really distracting. So even when I was at the other far-flung end of the theater, I could still hear it. Even other people were looking at me that's like, you hear that too? And I'm like, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's so that sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, I just
yeah.
and I just got into arguments like the movie theater industry is not gonna go back to what it was before the pandemic.
It really isn't, because now with streaming going on, and clearly showing that it's going to be the best scenario to release pretty much anything, it's going to end up taking over. I feel that's probably why Disney's not eager to throw in Black Widow on Disney Plus, mainly because at least for half of this year, they already have their Marvel stuff on Disney Plus covered, because we have WandaVision that's going to be playing new episodes between this and probably up until next month.
Speaking of WandaVision, I am
and
digging
then we have
it.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and that comes out in March.
Yeah.
So therefore,
Yeah.
trying to release Black Widow would probably end up being something that's too much at once.
Yeah. Speaking of WandaVision, I am digging it so far. We all watched the first 3 episodes.
All right, I gotta go because I actually have to go to work tomorrow in the morning.
Yeah.
So I'll talk to you guys.
Okay,
WandaVision has a slow
Good
burn.
night, guys.
Yeah, good night.
night.
Yeah, WandaVision has a slow burn, but wow, it is looking good so far.
Yeah, it looks good. I mean, I expected that it will, well, it will have a satisfying conclusion. I can certainly hope that.
Yeah,
That is the
it's building up. It is building up to something. It's like compared to a slow burn of some of the recent horror movies like Heredity. I think that's how it's pronounced.
I can think of this maybe become like this might be what Brightburn try to do.
Oh, you not a fan of Brightburn?
I haven't seen it myself, but from what from what they have told me and what I have seen from it, it wasn't as a slow burn as it could have been. Also because James Gunn was writing, so
yeah,
because everyone knew what was going to happen. It wasn't as slow burn as what it ended up becoming.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Even if it.
Just accidentally played one of my videos, trying to share it and stuff. So.
Okay. Basically, even if the even if some people have an idea of what will become of it, like everyone telling him, everyone I talk to, calling House of M what is going to happen. You know, let's say what. There's still a bit of a mystery of what what can happen.
Yeah.
So
Yes, there's not much to talk about right now aside from more. Wow, we talk a lot about that Frontier mod. Holy shit.
yeah, I mean
Yeah.
honestly, at this point, it's just look. I commend the guys for pulling
I commend the
gargantuan
effort.
out.
I might be a little harsh on you, but I think that harshness is kind of well deserved because of the Nubius elements in the game. I mean mod.
Considering, yeah, but honestly, at this point, it's there. Yeah, leave it alone. It's already dead, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's just that, and honestly, it's not like we can do much about it. It is what it is, and it's done.
Anyway, do you want to wrap this up for tonight? Do you need to?
Yeah, probably. I want to go to sleep now too.
Okay, yeah. So, with that wrapped up, we'll be rating El Motoko Devil. So, I wish you all a good night, and we'll see you all next time. Right, have a good night, everybody.
Good night.